Share screen. Um, Share. That. Okay. All right. Do you guys see this? You guys see what my search bar and everything?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So when you type in tractate gerim, this is what comes up. Converse. It's one of seven small tractates that addresses topics for which there is no specific tractate in the Jerusalem or Babylonian Talmud. Okay. It is covered in Yevamot, but it's not like its own separate tractate. So that's why we have this. This is like a later tractate. And it's a short one, so it won't take us very long. There's only four little chapters here. Cookies. Move this so I can scroll. So you have to click on the chapter. Okay. If a man wishes to, and for those watching this on YouTube, we've already covered the intro on how the law functions. Mishnah Torah from Rambam, Masuri Bia 13 and 14. So now we're going to start looking at the Talmud to see where he gets it from. So if a man wishes to become a convert, he is not accepted at once, but they say to him, why do you want to become a convert? Now, if somebody tells you he's not accepted at once, this doesn't mean you put him in a class for 3 years. We're going to see that very, very quickly here. Instead of just saying, okay, you're one of us, there's a procedure. This is what you say to him. Why do you want to become a convert? Do you not see that the people are debased, oppressed, and degraded more than all other peoples, that diseases and chastisements come upon them, and they bury their children and their children's children that are slaughtered for observing circumcision and immersion and the other precepts of the Torah, and cannot hold up their heads like other peoples. So if he says, I am not worthy, they dismiss him and he goes on his way. This is why it's saying we don't accept him right away, because we're going to basically tell him, don't you see it's not well for us right now? Things are not good. We're prosecuted. And if he wants to go on his way, then he goes on his way. That's it. That's the end of it. There's no three times pushing them. You make one statement to him, and if he doesn't want, then he goes on his way. That's why he's not accepted right away, because that's what you're gonna offer. If, however, he undertakes to become a convert, they take him down to the place of immersion. This is the mikvah. They cover him in water up to his middle and tell him some of the details. Some, again, not all, not 3 years worth of classes, not all 613 mitzvot, plus all the halacha and minhagim. They tell him some of the details of the precepts. He is informed that he is accepted only on condition that he will give the gleanings, the forgotten sheaves, the corn of the fields, and the tithes. That's it. This is why Rambam gave us this specific example. And notice he's already in the mikvah after this first conversation with him. This is why in Mishnah Torah we use the word miyad, that it shows that he's accepted immediately. There's no pushing them away, making it take long periods of time. First time they talk to him, he's already in the mikvah. They say this to a man, and so they say to a woman. She is accepted on condition that she will be particular in regards to nida, separating challah, and kindling the Shabbat lamp. That's pretty much it. When he has bathed, this means he's been in the mikvah, comes out of the water, they speak words of kindness and comfort to him, saying, to whom you are cleaving. Happy are you. You are cleaving to him who spoke, and the world came into being. Blessed be he, for the world was created only for the sake of Israel. So not for the Noahides. There's no other path that you can go on. It's created only for us. Only Israel are called sons of God. But wait, I thought if you studied 7 laws, you were like the high priest. Why didn't we offer that to them? And only Israel are described as beloved of God. All these things we have said to you, we have said only to increase your reward. Remember why we're allowed to convert children who do not consent to being converted, because we don't need permission to do something that's nice for somebody. So we view it as better to be Jewish than to be anything else. So that's why we're telling him there really is no other path. Only us are the ones that are beloved of God. We're saying this to increase your reward, to do something nice for you. That's not really what's in practice today, but again, what's in practice today is actually going against the way it's been done for thousands of years. So if a convert has been circumcised but has not yet been in the mikvah, he is a proselyte. This is going to be the opinion of one person. If he has bathed in the mikvah but not yet been circumcised, he's not yet a convert. Everything depends on the circumcision. Okay, this is the view of Rabbi Eleazar, one person, but Rabbi Akiva said also the lack of a mikvah is also a bar, meaning, according to Rabbi Akiva, you need to be circumcised and have the mikvah, and that's what's accepted today. So you guys have probably heard me say in the previous video, there's a debate, what if you do one, not the other? They give the reason that even Rashi said it would be problematic if he went into the mikvah because that completes the process. This person is a convert. And what if he then decided not to get circumcised? Now you have a convert that the conversion cannot be reversed, yet he's walking around uncircumcised. So this is why they said he needs to be circumcised first, because we don't want to delay doing a mitzvah. So that when he goes into the mikvah, it's complete. So this is the debate that it's referencing. However, what's accepted today, you got to do both, circumcision and the mikvah. Anyone who becomes a convert for the sake of marrying a Jewish woman or out of fear or love is not a convert. This is why the Sanhedrin stopped performing conversions in the time of King David and King Solomon, because they thought that they would be converting for the wrong reasons. But even in that time, there were groups out there performing conversions, 3 hedyatot, 3 ordinary people forming a bet din, doing conversions, and they were accepted by the Sanhedrin. So
Rabbi, sorry to interrupt. So all the people we see today, like particularly in America, like a lot of these women will convert to be Jewish just to marry a Jewish guy or whatever. They're technically not Jewish then.
They are Jewish because they went through the legal process. So what this is saying is that this is not a valid reason. And we'll see by the time we get to the end of this here. But so if someone comes to you and says, like what you're saying, I want to marry this doctor. I have no interest in the religion, but I want to marry the guy and he's Jewish. So convert me so that he'll be marrying a Jew. They're saying that this is not a valid reason to do it. So this should read, this is not a valid potential convert. Because if someone converts them anyway, remember where it says, if they were converted for the wrong ulterior motives, which is what this is describing, not the right motive, but an ulterior motive. If they converted with ulterior motives, and remember the example they gave, if after he converts, he starts worshiping idols immediately, he's an apostate, which is not a non-Jew, and his kiddushin is valid. What does it mean, his kiddushin? Your kiddushin is the betrothal. You're engaged to a Jewish person. It's valid, and this is a convert. Meaning, if this person with this ulterior motive is converted, his kiddushin is valid and he is allowed to marry them. So it's saying if he wants to become a convert for the sake of marrying, that's not a valid reason. However, if he's converted anyway, he does not return to the status of a non-Jew.
So it's not allowed really, but if it happens and they get converted, then you can't take it away. But it's basically frowned upon, basically.
Right. B'diavad, after the fact.
Okay.
If someone comes and says, I converted, okay, you're Jewish. You can't just say, oh, wait, well, why'd you convert? Oh, I scammed the bet din, I really just wanted to marry this woman. Well, that was an ulterior motive. That wasn't the right reason to convert. But since you converted, I can't say you're a non-Jew because you're a Jew. You've converted. And we'll see that here. I was kicked out of a group once because I brought this to the rabbi's attention. He wanted to nullify a conversion. I said, you can't do it. It's not allowed. The guy's converted. He said, no. If you didn't convert for religious reasons, then we can nullify it. No, you can't. And we're going to see that. So the source that he was reading this from, it gave anonymously here. But I found this source and it says it's Rabbi Nehemiah gave this opinion. It's in that class that I gave, the 13 or the 15-page article, Conversion to Judaism, Halacha, Hashkafa, and Historic Challenge. It named the source. So as we see here on Safaria, it also names the source. It's Rabbi Nehemiah. So I don't know where he was reading it from, but similarly, Yehuda and Nehemiah said, all the Gentiles who were converted in the days of Mordecai and Esther, this is the Purim story, they were not genuine proselytes. They were not genuine converts. These two people are giving you this opinion. Why? Because they're saying they weren't converted for religious reasons, because they converted out of fear. They were forced to convert. As it stated, and from many among the peoples of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews was fallen upon them. Anyone who is not converted for purely religious motives is not a convert. That is the opinion of these two people, Judah and Rabbi Nehemiah. That, however, is not the halacha. As we stated in Mishnah Torah, if they were converted for ulterior motives, if the conversion happened, it's irreversible. You can't nullify it. You can say they're not very devout, they're not following the law, they're not frum, which is true. We have lots of Jews that are halakhically Jewish that are not following the laws, but they don't become non-Jews. So if the conversion happened, you can't nullify it just because this person doesn't like it. And even Rashi says that. And if this were true, you know, all the people that say that they quote the Medrash that we heard the first two commandments and then Hashem held a mountain over us, and that's why we accepted Torah, because we were afraid we were going to die. So everyone at Mount Sinai is not a convert because they converted out of fear. Oh, that's just a Medrash. It didn't really happen.
That's a good point, Rabbi.
Then we shouldn't be quoting that. It's just a Medrash. It didn't happen. So that's how I would use this. This is not the halakha. This is not found anywhere but here in this minor tractate. That's the opinion of those two people. That's not how it was decided. That's not how it is in Mishnah Torah. That's not how it is in Shulchan Aruch, which we're going to see when we get there. So don't let anybody cherry pick this one sentence from these two people. And the rabbi that was not knowledgeable enough to know this, okay, the Beit Shammai never accepted the book of Esther. So we don't go by Shammai. We go by Hillel. I mean, it's canonized. We have a whole holiday celebrating it. So how can you say this is what we go by? We don't. Those two people didn't accept it. That's not how we go. Okay, so a man gives immersion to man, a woman to a woman, but not to a man. So for reasons of modesty. That makes sense. Okay, if a man becomes a convert who had vessels of wine in his possession, he says, I am positive that none of it has been poured out as a libation. The wine is permitted to him and forbidden to others. Rabbi Akiva says, if it's forbidden to others, surely it's forbidden to himself. If he says the wine has been made in a statue of purity in the presence of so-and-so, who is a haver, he is believed. Similarly, should Am Haaretz take upon himself to become a haver, and he had food which he should be in a state of ritual purity, and said, I am positive that it has been prepared in ritual cleanliness, it is permitted to him and forbidden to others. Rabbi Akiva said, if it's forbidden to others, all the more it's forbidden to himself. But if he said it was prepared in ritual cleanliness in the presence of so-and-so, who is a haver, he is believed. Okay, these words, haver, haver means a religious associate, somebody who's religious and observant and in the community that you associate with. An Am Haaretz literally means Am, nation, Ha, the, Eretz, land. So someone who was born in the land when everyone in the land was Jewish. So this is a person who's Jewish by birth, but he's an ignoramus. He doesn't know the law. So if an Am Haaretz, someone who's a native born, they're halakhically Jewish because the halakha says if your mother's Jewish or if you convert, that's it, halakhically Jewish. But if they want to become a haver, a religious associate, they almost had to go through a conversion. They had to take an oath in front of people and say, okay, I agree, I'm going to be religious. And then he is taught. There's really not much difference between an Am Haaretz who wants to become religious and a convert. A convert is dunked in the mikvah. and then you teach him what he needs to know. An Am Haaretz, someone who was born Jewish, doesn't know anything, he takes an oath, and then you teach him. It specifically says you start with teaching them how to wash their hands. If they reject this, they say, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, then you don't let him eat in your house. If he accepts this and he starts washing his hands and you see him doing it, then you teach him the laws of kashrut and you teach him things in a specific order. The same thing you do with a convert, according to the
But they don't
halakha.
do that today so much, the rabbi, right?
Right. For the
Now they
last
just say, now they just say
years,
do shuvah and then go about your business. Yeah.
they say everyone is an Am Haaretz. Nobody knows anything. This is why we accept them with open arms. Their mother's Jewish, and we'll teach them whatever they need to do. But a convert, we want to make them jump through hoops because they've deviated from the process of what a conversion is supposed to be. Look, in this tractate alone, the first time you talk to the guy, he's in the mikvah, learning some of the mitzvot, not all, and then he's Jewish, and then you teach him. That's the way it's always been. Today, they're like very lenient, and you can see this in, if you go through the Mishnah, it's in Damai, the laws of untithed seeds. It's either in that Mishnah or it's in the Tosefta, which accompanies it. It's like a supplement to the Mishnah. So it says that the opinion is of one person is that if um, if an Am Haaretz or a convert or a Haver, if anybody, if they leave the religion, um, that's it. There's no coming back. You leave, that's it. You're dead to us forever. Then there's another opinion that says if they come back publicly, meaning they make this public declaration, I'm going to be a Haver, I'm going to be religious, I'm going to be observant, I'm going to follow the law, we accept them. If they come back privately, we do not. Meaning you want to just sneak back in and be like, me leaving never happened. No, we want you to make a public declaration. So those are the two opinions. One is strict. You ever leave, you're never coming back. The next one is more lenient. If you come back publicly, we'll accept you. If you come back privately, we do not. And then it says the sages say, and this is how you know the halakha. The sages say, for in all cases, meaning Haver, Am Haaretz, convert, anybody, in all cases, we accept them at all times, whether they come back publicly or privately. Meaning you can come back, make a declaration, a renewal, or you can just come back in. You are always accepted back. That's the halakha. So what's happened today is they make these Frankenstein opinions. They say, look at how this guy is strict on everybody. Doesn't matter if you're a native born, a convert, no matter what. If you leave, you're gone forever. We'll take that strict opinion and we'll apply that to converts. If I see you violate some halakha, well, you're not a real convert, so we can't count you. We can't recognize your conversion. Then they'll go to the second opinion or the third, which says the actual halakha, which says we accept people back at all times in any cases. Well, that's very lenient and loving. We'll take that and we'll apply that to the native born. So you're going to be really strict on converts and really lenient on an Am Haaretz, a native born who doesn't know anything. When you go and you read those opinions, the strict opinion applied to everybody. The lenient opinion applied to everybody evenly. And the halakha was decided that it's lenient for everybody. You can't come in and split the opinion and say, I like that he was strict on everybody. I'm going to apply that to converts. And I like that they were lenient on everybody. I'm going to apply that to what someone was Jewish mother only. That's not how it was decided. That's what makes it bigoted. If you want to say, oh, you guys drove here on Shabbat, none of you are getting an aliyah, convert or native born. Fine. If you want to be lenient, say, well, his mother's Jewish, he drove, we hope he's going to learn and become frum. We'll give him an aliyah. Fine, do it to the convert also. You can't just come in and split the opinions in a way that Chazal never did, to mistreat converts, to be strict on them and lenient on the others. That's what's so bigoted about it. But that's what they're discussing here. An Am Haaretz, a native born who doesn't know anything, who wants to become a Haver, so he's going to follow the laws. Wine that's been poured out as a libation to pagan deities is forbidden. So it applies to the convert just like it applies to everybody else. Because there is no difference between a convert and a native. Same thing with the laws of money. Okay, an Israelite lends money to a Gentile, or a Gentile lends money to an Israelite and becomes a convert. He collects the principal, but not the interest. Jews, we don't charge each other interest. Not supposed to. They find ways around it. Well, we're not charging interest. We're charging this is a dividend on the profitability of the business that we're investing in. Rent is not considered interest, so there's ways around it. But if before the conversion he turned the whole into a loan, he collects the whole. So once the person converts, the same laws of interest and everything applies to him as it does any other Jew. How is the law? If a firstborn son was born to him before he was converted, he is exempt, because once you convert, your children don't become Jewish. Your children that were already born, they would have to convert if they were already born before you converted. And this is talking about a man, which, it's not really the same as with a woman, because it would be determined, the child would have to convert. If the woman was Jewish and he had a child with her and then he converted, the child would be Jewish because she's Jewish. If the mother was not Jewish, then the child would have to convert, because he converted after the child was born. But if after he was converted, he's liable. In case of a doubt, he is exempt. So we're lenient whenever there's a doubt. Imagine that. If he had dough ready for baking and field ready for reaping, until he is converted, he is exempt. But from the time he is converted, he is liable. If there is a doubt, he is exempt. So he's liable for the laws once he converts. And notice they don't come and nullify. Oh, there's a doubt, so we don't think the laws apply. Okay. There is a convert who was circumcised at 8 days old. How is this? If he was born before his mother, who became a convert, underwent immersion, he is circumcised at a day old. But if after his mother underwent immersion at 8 days old, if a convert was already circumcised, or if the child was born circumcised, it's necessary to draw the blood of the covenant. This is the Hatafat Dambrit, according to Shammai, which is strict. Hillel, usually more lenient. He say it's not necessary. So usually we go by Hillel. In this case, Hillel is lenient when it comes to circumcision. Everyone's going to go by Shammai on this. This goes back to the debate. What if he was already circumcised? Do we have to do the Hatafat Dambrit? The strict one, Shammai, says yes. Hillel is lenient, says no. Again, anytime you're dealing with conversions, you're going to have to do circumcision, Hatafat Dambrit if you've already been circumcised, and mikvah. If you don't comply with one or the other, it's going to be extremely problematic. So nobody's going to accept that there's a debate. It's pretty much accepted by everybody that that's the requirement. Okay, this rabbi said in the name of that rabbi that they didn't differ on the question of a convert who was already circumcised or a child who was born circumcised. What did they differ? On a child who was born circumcised on the Sabbath. Shammai said we override the Sabbath to draw the blood of the covenant, and Hillel said that's not necessary. So this person is claiming that this person taught him that they didn't even disagree on the circumcision. They're just disagreeing on, can it be done on Shabbat? No. Okay, slaves. Again, we don't have slaves today, but if slaves underwent immersion before his master, he becomes free. It's related of Queen Valeria that some of her slaves underwent immersion before her and some after. And when the case came before the sages, they said that they who underwent immersion before her were free, but they who underwent immersion after her were still enslaved. And we talked about that, slaves gaining their freedom by immersing for the sake of conversion. If they were immersing not for conversion, the master would have to put their hands on them to demonstrate that they were not free to immerse of their own free will. And they used to bathe with a chain around their neck so that they couldn't go under the water. Okay, just as Israel were initiated into the covenant by 3 concepts or precepts. And this is quoting Torah that says, so it was for us, so it will be for all generations, all future converts. So converts are initiated by circumcision, immersion, and a sacrifice. The omission of the first two, circumcision and immersion, debars him from becoming a convert, but the omission of the third, which is the sacrifice, does not debar him. We don't have a temple, so you can't do it. But remember, there was a debate where somebody said we should have set aside the money, but they decided nope, because if he sets aside the money, he might use it for something else. That would be a transgression. So they didn't even want to put that as a barrier of entry for people. It was decided you don't even have to have the money for the korban, even if the temple was built in your day. You'll still owe the sacrifice, but you don't have to show the money ahead of time that you have money set aside. Rabbi Eleazar said the omission of a sacrifice is also a bar. It was not decided this way. It was decided the opposite. Nobody's required. Even the if you go to a conversion accepted by the Rabbanut of Israel, we don't have a sacrifice. We don't have a temple. So this is not a bar because you don't have a sacrifice today. This was the ruling of Eleazar. A convert who becomes a convert is required to set aside a fourth part of a dinar. This is a financial amount for his sacrifice of birds. Rabbi Simeon says he's not required to do so. So this one guy said you're supposed to, but again, it was decided that you don't have to. So this is why you can't just take one opinion and say, oh, well, we go by this guy. Okay, that guy might have went by that. That's the minority dissenting opinion. The law was decided otherwise, against his opinion. Converts are punished for their sins before conversion. In the opinion of one rabbi, he is not punished. He is like a newborn child. Now, this is not talking about us punishing them. This is talking about do you get punished by God? And we don't know the answer. So one person can say, yes, you're like a newborn child. All the victims that you created before you converted, sorry about your luck. You're not going to be punished for it. Because you converted, you started over. No punishment, no Gehenna, or anything that you did before you converted. The other opinion is that you will be punished, which makes more sense to me. Now, the scales of justice, maybe I'll take into consideration what was going on before you converted. After you converted, you've done teshuvah. That can offset a lot of what you've done. But which one of us can actually say whether you're going to be punished, what the punishment is? That's for God to decide. But rabbis have their opinions on how it's going to work when these people die. But it's just that, their opinion. Okay. Gamliel said, why are converts afflicted? Why do they suffer? Because they calculate a year or 2 years before their conversion, saying, I shall become a convert when I have collected my debts and when I finish what I have to do. Right? This rabbi said to him, if they were to lose money only as a punishment, he would be right. But sometimes they bury their children and grandchildren, and sore diseases and chastisements befall them. Why are they afflicted? Because of their transgression of the 7 commandments which were given to the descendants of Noah. So when you see this, why are they afflicted? Because they calculate a year or 2 years before their conversion. Now, somebody that's looking to say, we're supposed to make converts wait for years, and prove that they're loyal and that they're going to learn and they can memorize everything they're supposed to do. They might look at this and say a year before or 2 years before their conversion. Well, that's what it's talking about. They're afflicted. They're made to go through a conversion process. That's not what it's talking about. We already proved at the top of this tractate that they're already in the mikvah the first time you talk to them, which is consistent with what we learned in Yevamot 47 and Surah 13 and 14, and what we're going to see in the Shulchan Aruch. So when it says they calculate a year or 2 years before their conversion, why are they doing that? Because Jews don't charge other Jews interest. So if they're loaning money, they're saying for a year or two, they're going to collect their debts, saying when I'll become a convert after I've collected my debts and all the interest that I won't be allowed to charge Jews once I convert. Once I've got all the money that's good for me, then I will convert once I have finished what I have to do. Not when I finished a conversion class some rabbi told me that I had to do before he puts me in the mikvah, like the actual halakha says he's supposed to do. This is the convert doing something dishonest, trying to make sure he gets all the benefits he can get before he joins the people. That's why are they afflicted? Why are they punished? That's what this is saying, because of their bad behavior. So then the response was, if they were to lose money only as a punishment, you would be right. That's why they would be suffering, because they're doing this bad behavior when it comes to finances. But they sometimes bury their children, grandchildren, diseases, chastisements befall them. That's the affliction that's coming to them. That's why bad things are happening to them. So the second rabbi is saying, why is this happening? Because of their transgression of the 7 commandments, which were given to the descendants of Noah. So in his opinion, because you're not even following these 7 laws, you're violating everything. That's why bad things are happening to you. So this is in no way saying that it's supposed to take years to get into a conversion class. That makes sense to everybody? Okay. What is a resident proselyte, convert? And here you see the word ger toshav. What is a resident proselyte? Whoever undertakes to abstain from idolatry in the view of this rabbi. So remember, in the Talmud, there's 3 opinions to what is a ger toshav, which is today called Noahide. One opinion is they don't have to do anything other than not participate in idolatry, which can't be the law, because that would mean that's all they have to do is not participate in idolatry. That means they're allowed to murder, allowed to steal. So that opinion was rejected. The second opinion is that there's no difference between a ger toshav, a Noahide, and a Jew. The only difference is that the ger toshav would be allowed to eat in the nevela, carcass, an animal that's kosher, that wasn't slaughtered properly, that's in the nevela. Other than that, the Jew and the Noahide, they do the exact same thing. Noahide is just allowed to eat in the nevela. Other than that, they're identical. That was the second opinion. That was also rejected. The third opinion is that they keep 7 laws. That's how the halakha was decided. That's the 7 laws that Rambam gave us. So everybody wants to acknowledge, yes, it's these 7 laws. That's how it was decided. And we know what we know about them because of Rambam. But then when Rambam says that they're not allowed, we're not allowed to accept them today. Well, now who is Rambam? He doesn't know what he's talking about. So it's kind of messed up that they do it that way. But these are the opinions they're giving us. What is ger toshav? Whoever takes to abstain from idolatry, that's the first view. That's the only thing he has to do. The second one says, who undertakes not to eat flesh that has not been ritually slaughtered. That's the nevela. That's the second opinion. His spittle, his seat, his couch, his urine are unclean. His bread, his oil, his wine are unclean, are clean. This is talking about imparting tuma, ritual impurity. This is what's tameh and what's tahor, what's impure and what's pure. That's what this is talking about. This can impart tuma if you're sitting on their seat, his couch. That's what this is saying. The prohibitions: you shall not do him wrong, you shall not oppress, and the wages of the hired servant shall not abide with thee all night, apply to him. Because we're supposed to take care of a ger toshav when we had them in the land. Obviously today we do not. We do not marry him to a Jewess or take a wife from him, because they are Gentiles. We do not lend to him or borrow from him on interest, because we are supposed to take care of them. We do not settle him on the frontier or in an unhealthy district, but in a pleasant district in the center of the land of Israel. Don't put him on the border where he can be killed by another nation that's invading. Although, interestingly enough, you can move them without their permission. We can say, you know what, we don't want you here anymore. We don't think this is safe for you. We don't need your permission, because they're not really equals. You can relocate them to a different area that you want, whether he likes it or not. Place him in a pleasant center in the land of Israel where he can find a scope for his occupation. As it is stated, with you he shall dwell in the midst a place where he shall choose in one of your gates. You shall not wrong him. Every incestuous marriage which is forbidden to Israel under pain of death at the hands of the Bet Din is forbidden to proselytes, converts. Okay, same laws apply. How is this? If he was married to the sister of his mother and her sister from the same mother, okay, so we're talking about two sisters here. Jew is not allowed to marry two sisters. The sister of his mother would be his aunt, and her sister, so two sisters. This rabbi says he must dismiss her, but the sages say he may keep one of them. You can keep one of them. You cannot be married to two sisters, because the same laws apply. An Israelite who has had intercourse with the daughter of a Gentile is to be tried according to non-Jewish law, but a Gentile who has had intercourse with the daughter of an Israelite is to be tried according to Jewish law. Okay, so a Gentile who had intercourse with the daughter of an Israelite is to be tried according to Jewish law. Anyone know what's going to happen to this Gentile? It's not going to be good according to Jewish law. But if a Jew, an Israelite, had intercourse with the daughter of a Gentile, he's to be tried according to the non-Jewish law. It's going to be very lenient. There's a separate law that says that if it's going to work out better for us to be tried by our law or their law, we can go by their law, their courts. Meaning, when we had Noahides, they were set up. They had to set up courts. We could be tried according to that law if it's going to be better for us. But they're going to be tried under our law, which is going to be very strict on them, which is why it's better to be Jewish. And even before they were executed, they were given the option to convert, which shows it's better to be Jewish, even if it's just to save your own life. Of course, once you were sentenced to be death, to be executed for something, you were given the option to convert to save your life. Now, all of a sudden, all these laws apply to you, like Shabbat, where Noahides did not have to observe Shabbat. But once they were sentenced to death for violating any of those 7 laws, they could convert to avoid the death penalty. But now the laws of Shabbat apply. Now they will get the death penalty for violating any of the laws. Because once they converted, even just to save their own life, all the laws apply. Because there's no way to undo a conversion. Okay, if a convert died, leaving a son or daughter who became a convert with him, his property is ownerless. His slaves regain their freedom. If the slaves were minor, they're acquired by drawing lots, like drawing straws. Because the sages says movable property is acquired by drawing, immovable property by seizure. We don't have slaves. We don't deal with all this, so we don't need to dive into details of that. Movable property is acquired by seizure, but if someone's walking in the field and the sages say, okay, not applicable. If it comes from the south, another from the north, each one acquires the part that he traverses. This is one view, but the sages disagreed with his view and made a ruling on it. Again, it doesn't apply today. If he died, liable for his wife's ketubah, claim of a creditor. Okay, this is not really dealing with laws of conversion. This is dealing with a specific situation. If the guy dies and then collecting debts from creditors, this is saying the same thing. This part of the debt, but the other part of the debt, okay, let's spend time on that. Slaves pasturing a flock, again, free men, not applicable. Okay, last chapter in this tractate. A stranger, a ger, literally, veger, do not wrong. You shall not wrong, neither shall you oppress him. You shall not wrong him in speech. Remember, in Bava Metzia 59b, anyone who causes anguish to a convert, even verbally, transgresses 36 Torah commandments. Some say 46 Torah commandments, just to wrong him in speech. So that's a pretty big deal. Don't do that. Strangely, many rabbis seem to forget this today. However, that is the halakha. And there's the source if you'd like to look it up. Or oppress him in money dealings. Do not say to him, yes, yesterday you were worshiping these, and until now, unkosher food like pig's flesh was between your teeth. And now you stand up and speak with me. Now you think you're an equal with me, who's a native born, who has always been Jewish. And where do I learn not to wrong him? He can retort, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Hence, this rabbi used to say, do not taunt your neighbor with the blemish which you yourself have. Now, there's people that say you're not allowed to ask somebody if they're a convert. This is incorrect. I wish it was that way, but you actually are allowed to ask a person if they are a convert. You are not allowed to remind them that at one point you were a Gentile. Meaning, if you're a native born, you can't say, well, you were a Gentile, I've always been Jewish. So if there's a debate between us, I win by default. You're somehow inferior because at one point you were a Gentile. Well, at one point, every Jew was a stranger in the land of Egypt before they entered into the covenant. So this is what it means when it says you can't taunt them with the blemish which you yourself have. So it's not really saying you can't ask a person if they converted. It's saying that you can't say you're somehow superior to them because you have the same blemish. This would be like making fun of somebody who did something wrong, but you yourself are actually guilty of the same thing. So that's what that means. Okay, this rabbi said because the convert's original nature was evil, Scripture gave many warnings in connection with him, as it is stated, and the stranger shall you not wrong, neither shall you oppress, for you know the heart of a stranger. Hence, because his original nature was evil, Scripture gave many warnings concerning him. Okay, there's different ways of looking at this. So the way I read this is saying, because the convert's original nature was evil, because he was not Jewish to begin with, Scripture gave many warnings in connection with him. We were surrounded by other nations. It says, don't marry within these 7 nations. Don't take these daughters of these other nations. Don't convert this group because of their behavior. I read the other day about nursing Gentiles, not because they're not Jewish that they're bad, but because they were poisoning them, trying to poison the Jewish children. So there is a lot of bad behavior that was going on. So I mean, you could kind of see where he's coming from. Don't wrong him, don't oppress him, for you know the heart of a stranger, because he's going to take revenge on you. That's one way of looking at it, because his original nature was evil. Scripture gave many warnings concerning him. Another way you could look at this is you were one of them. So this is why it's saying don't oppress them, because, and that's basically the explanation I just gave up there. That you yourself were one of them, and you should treat them with the respect they deserve. But this is what it's talking about when it's saying that many warnings were given in connection. Why were the warnings given? Because they are bad people, or because you yourself were one of them before you entered into the covenant? So that's 2 different ways of looking at it. Either way, the outcome is the same. Not allowed to mistreat them. Okay, this long one here, I think is the last one. Beloved are converts by God. Scripture everywhere uses the same epithets of them as Israel. Scripture everywhere treats them as equals. You could even argue it treats converts in Torah better than the native ones. It doesn't say 36 times, maybe 46 times, with regards to another native born, but it does mention converts that many times. Okay, it says the same epithets of them as Israel. But you, Israel, my servant Jacob, who I have chosen. Rambam says it's not just the inheritance of Jacob, it's Jacob and all those who desire to convert. Okay, but the term love is applied to Israel, as it is stated, I have loved you, said the Lord. And the term love is applied to converts, as it is stated, and he loves the stranger in giving him food and raiment. Israel are called servants, as it is stated, for unto me the children of Israel are servants. And converts are called servants, as it is stated, to be his servants. The term acceptable is used of Israel, and it is stated, it shall always be upon his forehead, that they may be accepted before the Lord. And the term acceptable is used of converts, as it is stated, their birth offerings and their sacrifices shall be acceptable upon my offering. Everywhere here is treating as equals. I'm not seeing anything that says converts are supposed to be second-class citizens. The term keeping is applied to Israel, as it stated, the Lord is your keeper, the Lord is your shade upon thy right hand. And the term keeping is applied to converts, as it is stated, the Lord preserveth the strangers. The term ministering is applied to Israel, as stated, but you shall be named the priests of the Lord. Men shall call you the ministers of our God. And the term ministering is applied to converts, as it stated. Also the aliens that join themselves to the Lord to minister unto him. Beloved are converts, seeing that our father Abraham did not circumcise himself when he was 20 or 30 years of age, but when he was 99 years old. Since if he had circumcised when he was 20 or 30 years old, no Gentile would have become a convert when he passed the age of 20 or 30. The Holy One, blessed be he, who kept putting it off until he had reached 99 years, so as not to close the door in the face of converts. So that's a good point. Why are we closing the door in the face of converts for any reason? And to allow more days and years as to increase the reward for those who do his will. It's never too late. His door is always open. As it is stated, the Lord was pleased for his righteousness' sake to make the teaching great and glorious. Our father Abraham called himself a gerim. As it is stated, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Similarly, David, king of Israel, called himself a gerim. As it is stated, for I am a stranger with you. And likewise it states, for we are strangers before you. Beloved is the land of Israel, because it makes converts fit to be received. If a man says in the Lord of Israel, I am a convert, he is accepted at once. But outside the land, he is not accepted unless his witnesses are with him. Okay, here's another tricky sentence. Remember the debate about the migo, the person that raised the doubt that you're Jewish because you said you're a convert. That means at one point you were a Gentile. But that person removed the doubt by admitting that you converted. In the land, he's to be believed. Outside the land, he's not believed. He's to bring witnesses. So, because if he wanted to lie, he would have just told a better lie and said, my mother's Jewish. So you're not bringing witnesses to convert with you. This is saying he's accepted at once into the community as a Jew because he said he converted. Outside the land, he's not accepted unless his witnesses are with him. This is the document that your witnesses sign when you convert. That's what this is saying. You're to be believed. For sure, if you want to get married, you have to prove that you're Jewish. Even if you're a native born, you have to prove that you have Jewish ancestry. So this was saying bring witnesses to show that you have converted. So this is not, you're not bringing witnesses to accept you into a conversion program. This is saying that you've already converted, you're accepted and believed with witnesses outside the land. I wish it was different, but that's the way it is. You have to prove you've converted. They're right, and this is what I was bringing up. It's not prohibited to ask somebody if they've converted. It's prohibited to remind them that they are a convert. But you can ask, and this is why you never want to lose your document that proves you converted. Make a copy of it, put it in a fireproof safe, make the copy somewhere else, because if you ever need to prove you're Jewish, that's how you're going to do it, is with that document that has the witnesses' signatures. So don't ever let anything happen to that. All right, give me 5 minutes. I'll go with you. I got to finish up here. Okay, beloved is the land of Israel because it atones for iniquities and transgressions, as it is stated. And the inhabitants shall not say, I am sick. The people that dwell therein shall be forgiven their iniquity. And so you find in the 4 classes that stand before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it is stated, one shall say, I am the Lord's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob. Another shall subscribe with his hand unto the Lord, and the surname himself by the land of Israel. one shall say, I am the Lord's. It'll make more sense right here at the end. This alludes to one who belongs wholly to the omnipresent, has no admixture of sin. He's like a tzaddik. Another shall call himself by the name of Jacob. This alludes to the converts of righteousness. You can't convert to be a Cohen or a Levi, so you're just one of Israel. Another shall subscribe with his hand to the Lord. This alludes to those who repent about the Shuvah and surname himself by the name of Israel. This alludes to those who fear heaven. That is tractate gerim. I've got to go in a couple minutes. Does anybody have any questions? So let me stop the recording. We'll deal with that. Screen sharing. There's the recording stop button. I don't see it. Or stop recording.